There we go. Susan, can you see my screen?
I just see you, so I don't see any
Okay.
slides
Let
yet.
me make sure everyone can see my screen. Hi, everybody. We are just getting ourselves situated. Good morning or afternoon, depending on where you are joining us from. And let's get ourselves all set up here. How about now, Susan?
Yes, I see your
All
slide.
right. Well, happy 2023 out there in California. You're not being impacted by the bad weather that much, are you?
Oh, you can't hear? Yeah, no, it is a complete downpour. I was going to say, for once, I have absolutely no light in the back, and you can say you're probably having better weather.
Here in State College, PA.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Well, I was just telling Susan, everyone, before we hopped on, that the stomach bug has made its entrance into my house. So it's been an eventful 24 hours. So let us know in the chat where you're coming from and if there's anything crazy happening in your life, whether it's storms, anybody out in California. In all seriousness, though, I hope everybody's being safe. I think it was Ellen DeGeneres or some other celebrities posting about just crazy, crazy weather and flooding there. So hope everyone is staying safe. We appreciate you joining us today. And Susan and I are really, really excited about today's content, don't you think?
Absolutely. And I'm just reading, everybody is, the place to be, I think, is Montana and Orlando, but otherwise everybody is dealing with some sort of weather, and the stomach bug is also happening. So you are not alone.
I told Susan, this is my fourth shirt of the day, sign of a bad stomach bug. So I'm actually even more excited to be with you all because I get to leave the stomach bug for an hour. So we're going to get started in just a minute, just a few housekeeping items. If you have any questions as we're going through today's, presentation, we don't want to be talking at you. We want this to be a conversation. So as always, please submit them as we're going through. And we want this to be super informal, conversational, and it to be inspiring to all of you. We know that some of our predictions, they may end up being wrong because that's what a prediction is, right? Nobody has
to wrap up at the year at the end of the year, so we can show
and how many we'll score ourselves.
Yeah.
How many we got right. So
yeah.
These are our predictions for 2023 from a marketing perspective, but we're also going to talk about what opportunities then come from these predictions and how you can make the most of them. This is being recorded. Number one question we get, and yes, we will send you the recording and the slides, so you'll have everything that you need. Okay, and with that, I think we should go ahead and dive in. So, Susan, I put you first today to introduce yourself again.
Well, hi, everyone. For anybody who's new to one of our webinars, welcome. And we hope you'll enjoy today and continue to join us in future webinars. But I think we also have many that have probably heard from us before. And I want to say Happy New Year. Although I saw in the LinkedIn post today, somebody said at the 8th or the 9th, they're like, it is totally incorrect to say Happy New Year after January 7th or something. But I kind of disagree. I'm like, if I haven't seen you, I think I can still say Happy New Year. So to a healthy and happy New Year to everyone. And thanks for, being part of our FMG family and joining us for these.
That's so true. I just took my Christmas tree down yesterday, so I cannot agree with that. And hello, everybody. I'm Samantha Russell, the Chief Evangelist here at FMG. And a lot of what we're going to talk about today, I tend to drip a lot of these things out as I'm researching them, exploring them, as Susan and I are talking throughout the month over on LinkedIn and Twitter. So if you'd like more of a daily dose of this, if it feels like you're drinking from a fire hose, feel free to connect with me there, and you will see some of this types of research data and predictions in your social feed. Okay, so before we go forward, though, about these predictions, because people always ask Susan and I, what should I be doing? Should I be running ads on this platform? Should I create an Instagram account? Should I?
There's one magic bullet. Like, just tell me that one thing that's going to work.
Right, exactly.
Wish we could, but
I think the thing that Susan and I would always want people to stop and do is to stop just thinking about tactics and to really start by asking yourself for 2023, what makes my business marketable in the first place?
And that is worth a pause and possibly writing it down, because I think everybody needs, no matter whether you've nailed your value proposition and your messaging, it's a new year, and you'll see in the slides to come, it's a chance to think about what really makes you marketable, and that can evolve and hopefully is evolving as you expand and grow your value proposition and services. So
yes, and some of the things that made firms marketable even just 5 years ago has changed with consumer expectations. So we're going to start there. We're going to talk a little bit about what consumers and investors and clients are reporting, and then we'll talk a little bit more. So you may have seen this in a previous webinar if you've attended before, but it's worth putting up here again, which is that this is from the Spectrum Group, which does research in our industry. And they found in a recent report this past summer that there is a wide gap between what clients expect when they work with a financial advisor, right? This all-encompassing term, versus the services they actually get. And so regardless of what you offer, one of the best things you can do with your marketing is to be very, very clear and concrete about what is and isn't included, and, really double down on including in your messaging the areas that maybe go above and beyond some of the things that people typically receive. So, you can see financial planning, services expected, services received. Those lines aren't that far apart. But then when we go down the list here, I don't know, Susan, what jumps out to you in that chart?
Well, actually, all of them. I think this says that if you are using in your messaging, you're relying on providing investment management and financial planning, you are not differentiated. I think this is saying that that's expected and that's delivered, but look at all the other categories, and you talk about many of these with your clients. So if any of these are things that you cover, have any level of expertise, or partner with others to provide, like tax planning, I think we'll talk about that, trust services, wealth transfer. These are SEO terms. These are differentiators. These help you attract a niche or touch on a pain point that maybe other advisors aren't serving. So I think this is just a great slide, and we'll send these out afterwards, obviously, just to remind yourself and be sort of a mnemonic device as you're building your messaging and your value prop, to think about which of these do you want to highlight as your expertise.
So well said. Yes. And on this note, you'll see that tax is a big one that, comes up, and we'll get back to that in a second, because that is a real opportunity for so many advisors. But one of the other things that recently came out from Edelman Financial Engines just in December was they actually did a great report where they surveyed a bunch of Americans who do not work with a financial professional. And these were people across income spectrum. So, this was, some people will look at this and say, oh, well, these were lower income only. They had a whole category of just millionaires and what their answers were. So, but they asked people, why don't you currently work with an advisor? What's like a barrier? And the number one reason was the perceived cost of advice. The second one was not having enough money. The third was someone thinking their finances are simple enough. And the fourth was that they enjoy doing it themselves. The reason I put this slide up here is that only a third of Americans overall work with a professional, as you can see at the top here. And so when we're thinking about marketing, one of the things that, Susan and I firmly believe, and we know to be true, is that content marketing can help you push past every single one of these barriers.
Absolutely. I was surprised by this, and maybe we can, as a follow-up, I'd love to see the age demographic as well as the wealth demographic. It'd be interesting to see.
And if you go to that source link, by the way, everyone, you can download this report. It's ungated. You don't even have to put your email in, and they do break it down by wealth and, age and things like that.
Demographics. Yep.
Yep. So the other follow-up from that was so people who currently don't have an advisor, when they said, okay, if you were to work with an advisor, or, if you were interested at all, what would be the number one thing that you could really use help with? And here you can see what those answers are. But interestingly enough, for people who had $1 million of assets or more, tax guidance was number one. And for overall, it was number 4. So we talked a little bit about taxes earlier. This just reiterates, people across the country, across all income levels, but especially people obviously on the higher income levels, taxes are always on their minds. And any way that you can show in your marketing that you offer this integrated approach, whether you're doing it in-house or you have a special way of working with their CPA already, that is really important, because some of you might just assume, well, clients are going to know that. I don't think they do. You really need to spell it out for them. Okay. All right. And then this one, I'm not going to spend too much time on, but I thought it was interesting. Just people like talking about what are the most overwhelming tasks that they have to do on their own. And they broke it down, all Americans versus affluent Americans, managing investments, even though we talk so much about in our industry that investment management really can almost be seen as a commodity at this point, all of these things, it still is overwhelming for individuals to think about. And there still is value there, obviously. But again, you can see taxes making its way to the top, especially for affluent Americans. All right, so those are some interesting data points, but let's dive into what are some of our predictions and how you really can capitalize them on opportunities. So these are in no particular order, by the way, but I wanted to start here because we just spent the last little bit talking about what are some of the barriers to working with an advisor. What are people, saying is something that they could use help with. And so one of Susan and I's predictions is that if you really dedicate yourself to hosting monthly or even quarterly educational webinars, you will drive quality leads. This doesn't seem earth-shattering, but the reason we really want to make it one of the first things we talk about is because we just did a study where we partnered with Wealth Management, their research arm. And look at this, only 23% of those that responded to the survey advisors said that they're currently using webinars.
And I wonder, if people want to just respond in the chat, I'm sort of curious whether, yes, no, but, less than a quarter of all advisors are using webinars. That means this is an incredibly powerful and underutilized opportunity, and those that use it will have a competitive advantage. So that I think this is I'd be surprised if we were wrong on this prediction. I think this number will go up over the year, and those that do it will find that it is both easy to execute, does not cost anything, and it is if not the best way to drive leads, a very strong one.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to show you some examples of firms that are doing it and why it's so powerful, but I am seeing in the chat right now, what are topics you suggest, how often, so we're going to cover that right now.
Oh, somebody just finished a webinar an hour ago.
Oh, yay. So one of the best things about webinars is that for a lot of you, writing out all of the content and creating these blogs is not something that you want to dedicate yourself to. Number two, it's easier to kind of talk and it's more interactive, and you'll see later, but video is really the preferred communication method a lot of people want. The other thing is it really helps you to make it more of an event where you can ask people to come and you're going to be able to collect email addresses, which is why it's so great for lead gen versus sending them to a blog where, they can just read it. So a few tips we have for you. Really focus on answering the questions or the things that are top of mind for clients and prospects right now, right? So you can see this example on the right. Worried about your balance? Isn't everybody who's in the markets right now? Here is a webinar that they have talking about market volatility, right? And you can watch it when you go to this website. The other thing that's so great about webinars is we're all trying to, not only expand wallet share, but bring in new prospects. If you can bring in on a webinar an expert in another area, whether it's an estate planning attorney or a CPA, they are able to then invite it to their audience as well. And then you can share those lists together. And it is a fantastic strategy for lead gen.
Yeah, I think that's worth emphasizing because, you'll see that we do partner webinars where we'll work with, somebody from Wealthbox or FP Transitions or lots of different partners. And the benefit is that, when you have something that is jointly of value, so let's say a CPA in your area or a center of influence, I've seen people do niche webinars with women, with, a nutritionist. It doesn't even have to be in the financial realm. But those generate far more attendance. And you're getting another party to be promoting it, likely to none of your clients, all prospects. And that is one of the secrets, I think, to success.
Yes, absolutely. And the other thing is I'm seeing some people saying, like, we started these, we're not getting good attendance. Let me just tell you all a secret. The very first webinar I ever did, 30 people signed up and 2 came. And I talked to that room as if it was a room full of people, right, on the webinar. Now, when we do webinars, like today, we had well over 1,000 registrants. And right now it looks like there's almost 500 of you on live, right? So don't expect your first webinar to be a crowded room full of people. That's just not realistic. But the best part about this, in my opinion, Susan, is that yes, it's interactive, which is a great thing, and you're going to be able to answer questions live. But the second best part is that you're going to take the recording and now it can be repurposed. It can live on your website, like in this example. You can put it on YouTube if you want. You can put it on a link to it on social media. So even if people didn't attend it live, they'll be able to see that resource and you can keep putting that content to work for you.
Yeah. And, we're getting a lot of questions about topics, which I think we'll cover, as well as compliance. And just from a topic perspective, think of the meetings that you're having with clients, think of the meetings you're having with prospects, think of the meetings think about even, your weekends and when you're talking to friends. I think you'll be able to come up with some of the trending topics that are on people's minds. And those are the ones that make for a great webinar. And, Sam is fantastic at putting together a lot of slides, but we've done webinars where we just have two other experts and we have no slides and we just talk and we've written out a series of questions. And in that case, it's really easy to put on and equally engaging because people are, sometimes slides actually detract from a presentation, and talking and communicating, just having a conversation is far better than, reading a script. Now, as it relates to compliance, yes, you do have to submit the presentation and the script ahead of time, which can be time consuming. But I will say, if you use one that's on FMG's platform and we have an event sequence that enables you to promote webinars really easily, those are already approved. So it might be something if you're an FMG customer to check out, or you can email me and ask about it, or something that if you're interested in considering FMG, it's definitely one of the most popular functions that we have.
Yeah, and I'm going to go back to the slides that I just went through quick, but since you're talking about it, Susan, twice a year, we create these specific kind of state of the markets and halftime report, which are really, really popular. So you can download them. And it basically talks about what just happened the last 6 months, where are we at? It gives you all of the slides. It gives you the talking points. So you know what, obviously you can make it your own, but it has pretty much everything you need. It has the invitation, the landing page. So if you're interested in getting started with webinars, this is a fantastic way to start because it makes the lift almost no lift, in my opinion. And you can find this in the FMG dashboard, which if we have time at the end, I will show you. But going back to some of the topics, here are just some examples. This is a great, if you want to check out someone I think that's doing a great job, this JCL Financial Group, maybe Blair, you could put the link. They have on the homepage of their website links to their last 3 webinars, and you can watch them, the recordings of them. And then you can see here, the recording is also embedded. And then at the top here, one of the things that I really want to point out is the way that they have this description. So one of the things I see people make the mistake is they just put the title of their webinar and they say, join us. They don't take the time to explain what are the questions we're going to address, how long will it be? So they say in just 30 minutes, what's going to be covered, and then exactly what those takeaways will be. And I like the way they have, you have questions, we'll cover, you need to know, right? And then they're just bullets, but this is really going to hone in for someone, whether or not this Social Security webinar is going to be a good one for them. Okay. Just a few things I wanted to go back to about this. So this is just one other example, by the way, of a webinar from Sequoia Financial. If you want to go, I wanted to give you guys some examples. This was back when the Biden Build Back Better proposal was on the table. So they did a private webinar for their clients about like what could it mean? It was really well attended. Here's that same website I mentioned before. When you're on their homepage, you can see all of the webinars listed there. So it really, really helps promote this educational content. But I saw some questions about how do we get people to come? One of the really important things, obviously, is having a good email list. So whether you want to start with just clients or clients and prospects, but one of the mistakes we see people make is that they only send one email invitation. And a lot of research has shown that 3 reminders is sort of the sweet spot to get the highest attendance. So we tend to suggest you do it a week out, the day before, and then an hour before reminder. That's how we do it. And we actually like to make the hour before reminder kind of a fun one, like with a funny GIF saying like time's almost out, or something that will make people laugh and make them feel like, oh, okay, I could use a break, and I want to do this. And then we also will always put a little language that says, even if you can't make the live time, sign up anyways, and we will send you the recording and the slides. And that is really helpful, so that someone's not saying, oh, I can't be there, I'm not going to sign up, and you can still collect their email as a lead. And
then I think, the other piece is after the event, even if you don't get people to attend, you're going to have, our average is typically 50% of registrants attend. And that's fine. We're perfectly happy with that. That's sort of, I think, pretty standard.
It's a good rate. Yeah.
Good rate. But we'll email the recording out to everyone. And we have we send a different message to those that attended versus those that didn't. But you still get another chance to touch them after the event. And depending on whether they engage or what your process is, those become leads. And it's a much more overt, hand raise, an opportunity to follow up with someone than almost anything else. If they download a newsletter, they, comment on a social post, you still feel a little, you need to get to know them a little bit more before you feel comfortable reaching out. But if they attended a webinar or registered, you really have an open door to follow up.
Absolutely. Someone is saying that they believe, niche specific is really, really important. Yes. And they just gave the example of Treece, TREECE financial group. So if anybody wants to look that one up, but I 100% agree. The more specific you can be to your niche, obviously, the more successful it will be. I just gave this one from Social Security, because Social Security and Medicare are also always ones that get a ton of attendance from pre-retirees. So if you're not super niche specific, but you do retirement planning, those are always and always will be hot topics. And I think given our predictions are 7, we probably need to move on, but we could talk a lot about this one. But just in wrapping up, some other, you can also go outside of financial, as I said, nutrition. Wellness is great because you can combine a lot of different aspects to wellness. But I've seen advisors have success doing, top 10, new apps you should check out, or have an open, webinar to bring technology questions. I've also seen it be really effective for the next gen, where you create, you have a webinar that's targeted to, kids and graduated from college or in their 20s, and you send the invite out to your clients who likely, would either have children or grandchildren in that age category, and ask them to forward it. Yeah. So there are just a lot, there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of good ideas. And again, going back to that idea of if you don't naturally get people beyond clients, partnering with someone else is such a good strategy, because they are going to bring in their audience as well. And last thing on compliance, at least from my experience, and I am at 24, if you are just speaking to something, it's considered a public appearance, and you typically, do not have to provide a word for word script, but a recording of it afterwards, or an outline of the questions you're going to cover, usually is sufficient. And each of your compliance departments will have their own policies around this. But I think thinking that compliance is the barrier, may be a misnomer, that you can just talk to your compliance teams and ask for their process, but it may be easier than you think. Susan knows the ins and outs of a lot of this stuff, like you said, because of your background. So thank you for that. Okay, we better talk less. I'm not going to interrupt. Talk quicker, because we're going to run out of time. Our second prediction is that zero-click content will dominate engagement on social media. So I'm sure most of you are saying, what the heck is zero-click content? And we're going to tell you what it is. So what zero-click content is if you're scrolling on social media and you see something and there's no link, it's just a post that in and of itself says something or communicates something. It could be anything from a picture of your team saying Happy Thanksgiving to everyone, to something like this that gives you some sort of takeaway, right? So Dave Zoller is talking about, not getting into the habit of giving your adult children money because it might become an expectation instead of a gift over time, right? So this is a story, but also a message that offers standalone value without you needing to click to a blog, click to a YouTube video, click off of social media. This is really revolutionizing social media, and the algorithms love it, right? Because it's not taking people off Facebook or off Twitter or off LinkedIn. It's keeping them on their platforms. And so what we are seeing is the zero-click content, consumers love it because it just keeps them scrolling, but the algorithms love it. And so they tend to push it up higher in the feed. So let's look at kind of the old way versus the new way. So here, not to pick on Barron's, because we've all done this a million times, but here's an article from Barron's. They just have a quick little statement. They have an image, a link to, if you want to go get what those 5 points of the social media plan are, you need to click this article and go read it, right? The new way would be if you have a video you want people to go watch on YouTube, or you have an article on your website, you would take the main points, the most salient takeaways, and you list them out in a long form LinkedIn post or a multi-tweet thread, right? So you're giving, again, that information up front without making someone need to click. And so many people will say to me, so then do I not need to create videos? Do I not need to create blogs? This is really confusing. Mm-hmm. That is not what we are saying. But what we're saying is that once you create this content, whether it's a blog post, it's a video, rather than just share it and say, go check out my latest blog post, because no one is actually going to do that. And the algorithm is not going to promote it that much. You need to repurpose it by giving away those top points. So you can see here's a video I recorded on the 10 biggest website mistakes we see advisors make. And instead of making you watch the video to get them, I list them all out, right? It got 32 comments, and some of those comments are from people who probably did not watch the video, but they read those bullet points, and now they're going to engage and leave a comment. And again,
most people did not.
Yes, exactly. So this is really, really key. This is completely changing social media. And, Susan, I don't know if we want to talk about too, we're changing the way that we're doing social media at FMG even because of this.
I was just going to say, I can't wait to get to, I think it's number 7.
Yes, we're going to show you.
We'll hold back I'm just excited to talk about it, but we'll hold back for number 7.
Okay, that's good. Then we can keep going. So for your own purposes, though, as you're scrolling through your feed today, pay attention, and you'll start to see that the posts that you're going to see the most, no matter what social app you're on, are going to be ones that do not have links. Pay attention to it and see if it's true for you. Okay, so on that note, we wanted to just give you an opportunity. So you might be thinking about, okay, zero-click content, that's really interesting. What are some ways that I could create it though? Like if I don't have time to create these short caption posts, we're going to talk about how we can help you at FMG. But one thing that Susan and I have seen work really well, that's kind of an easier lift. And it also, again, taps into the idea of partnerships and expanding who's following you, is to start a what's going on in our local area feature, where every month you list out maybe the top 5 things happening in your town that month, or you could do it every Friday, right? And you tag the businesses, the events that you mention in that post. They're going to get the tag. They're going to say, oh, Russell, Wealth Management just tagged me in this. Who's this business? But they're also going to be likely to reshare it with their own audience, and you're going to be able to build up a much bigger network. This works really, really great for Facebook, especially because it's local based. If you were going to do something like this on like LinkedIn, you could talk about a local business and just tag that one business. So maybe it's, we just went and visited business X and they have a really great service that does Y, and you tag them. So a really great strategy, again, that's creating that zero-click content, but also really tapping into partnerships to help you expand who sees your content. Okay. Oops. All right, Susan, let's talk about the third biggest prediction we have. Email will continue to be the most desired form of communication by clients. And sadly, I didn't put this on here, but I think that most advisors will continue to under-communicate with their clients. I hope I'm wrong, but we have some research.
You saw that, yeah, you're probably going to show the Y charts thing, but it looked like it hadn't changed much at all since 2019 or 2020.
Right. So Y charts in 2019 polled a bunch of advisors' clients, asking them about preferred communications strategies. And then they just last week, they republished their new studies. They went and followed up with those same people a couple years later and said, how has the pandemic changed things? And the number one takeaway is that email is still the most preferred way that clients want their advisor to communicate with them, right? After in-person meetings, by the way, it was beyond meetings. What would you say is your preferred communication strategies? So yet about half, 47% of those that they surveyed wish that their advisor would communicate with them more frequently. And 9 out of 10 clients in the same survey said that they would take into consideration their advisor's communication frequency and style when deciding whether to retain them. And this is all leading up to this.
Refer, I think, right? Wasn't that the sub bullet?
Yes, refer or retain. But this was a sad stat, I thought. More than 1 in 5 surveyed Americans switched advisors since the 2020 survey was done. And this included 28.7% of respondents with greater than 500,000 of assets under management. So email, it's something that I think it's like, we talk about predictions. This isn't like any, I'm sorry?
It's free.
Yeah. But I was going to say, it's not like a sexy thing, right? It's not like, oh, this is some revolutionary thing, but this just goes to show that there's so many people that aren't getting the basics right. Yes. And that it's incredibly important to do the basics right before we move on to like some of the more sexier things.
100%. I think advisors and all of us would love to have an easy button and, find the next new thing that's just going to do it all for us. But, I believe there's really nothing that works more effectively on a consistent basis than just communication, sharing value add information, whether it's on financial planning topics or market or economic timely topics. And this is what I think FMG and, what Sam and I are really passionate about doing. And I also think that this number went up because in times of volatility, it is even more important to communicate, and more likely that if you do not, some other advisor will be dripping on that customer, and the likelihood that they're going to be thinking about making a switch is obviously higher.
I always say nobody fires their advisor for communicating too much, but they might if you don't communicate enough.
Yep.
So email, and we're not really going to get that much into email because I feel like we've talked about email tactics and strategies so much in other webinars, but if you do not already have a good email strategy for both clients and prospects, but especially clients, this is 100% a must do for 2023. Okay, our prediction number 4, Google reviews will become even more important when thinking about winning new business. So we all know about the SEC's ad rule that went into effect, but I just want to reiterate some of the reasons why Google reviews matter so much. And the first one is just that Google reviews, the total number that you have and what the ratings are, factor into your local search ranking. So how high Google ranks your business, they take this into account. Do you have reviews and how high are they? Also, just from like a client experience, I always say the client experience doesn't start when someone becomes a client. It starts when they start researching you. If someone Googles you, your reviews are going to show up. So that is also important. And again, Google reviews impact SEO. I know immediately we're going to get questions from people saying our compliance won't allow us to have
not
reviews.
allowed, not allowed. What is that? There's an ad. It says expired.
What is it? Oh,
it's like progressive, or there's, the ants are in the house and
right.
Like expired.
Right.
I know the compliance, but it is 2023. The rule went into effect in, I think, November of 2022. I know for a fact that compliance departments are, if they haven't already, I think they had to produce some sort of policies and procedures around it in November, and we'll be refining those. So this is one of those things that by the end of the year, we may be a little ahead of ourselves that it's, what advisors are using regularly, but I think this will absolutely be something that more and more advisors are using, and compliance departments get more comfortable with how to allow it.
Yes. And one of the things that I also want to mention,
just said we got our first testimonial approved by compliance today.
Oh, yay, David. Yes. One of the things someone just mentioned, Kelly Wood said, even if you can't have Google reviews or it's not compliance approved, it's super important to make sure your Google listing is up to date. And that is actually one of my next points. We'll come back to those. So this is incredibly important. Google changed it from the name of this. They now call it, instead of Google My Business, it's Google Business Profiles. And you have the ability to claim your business on Google and complete it fully. So I suggest that you have at least 6 photos that you include. You want to, put your hours of operation, when you're open. There's nothing more annoying. This just happened the other day for a local business here. I drove 30 minutes to go to a business and they were closed. But on their, when I Googled them, it said that they were open from 9 to 4 that day. So making sure your hours, are showing there. This is all good for SEO. Most of you aren't having people just drive over to an office if you're even in an office anymore. But from a search engine optimization perspective, it's really, really important. And
this is also how for those that are still having in-person meetings, which I think everybody is to some degree, this is how they get directions. So they are seeing this,
absolutely.
Right. So
Absolutely.
It's not just if they wanted to look up and see how many reviews you had, it's how they look you up to get your driving instructions if they're not using Apple Maps.
And if you are currently getting Google reviews and it's something, your compliance team has approved and is working with you on that and testimonials, a big thing that we like to suggest is that you take those reviews, put them on a testimonial page on your website, and then have a link so someone can go look at all the Google reviews over on Google. So it makes it really objective, not like you're cherry picking just the best reviews to showcase, that they can go and look at them all. If you do set this page up as well, you'll see in that middle screenshot, it will allow you to really automate asking for reviews. So you can send an email to, all of your clients asking them to leave you a review. You'll have a special link that allows you to do that. And, I'm sure we'll have a lot more questions about compliance and things like that. But I think one of the biggest takeaways is that these are only going to become more and more prominent as more and more teams on board being able to use them, and consumers are going to look at them. We all look at reviews for everything we do anymore. And this is going to be no different. Okay. I'm going to keep going instead of going backwards just because of the time. So number 5 prediction is that video content will do the most to reinforce your brand and make you memorable. And I would even argue that I think video content is becoming more and more the preferred type of content that people want to consume. I don't know if you agree with that, Susan, but that is one of my predictions.
Absolutely. And one of the ones that still, I have to record something later today and I'm like, oh gosh, I got to make sure I shower and look good, but then it's still, I think everybody still has some anxiety over it. And so I think you're going to share some ways to get over that.
Yes, absolutely.
But really the best way is just to keep trying. It gets easier as you go.
That's right. So just a couple key points here. YouTube, again, is the second largest search engine. So if you look at my computer here on the right, you can see if somebody were to go and search for any kind of question, financial related or not, one of the things that Google will do is pull video content into the search results. So if you add your videos to YouTube, you are now having the opportunity to be exposed to a whole new audience through search engine optimization. And then there's all the people that go to YouTube and just search, how to change a tire, how to start claiming Social Security. So people are doing searches there and those videos are being fed in. But what is a huge shift is the rise of short form video. So we're talking 30 seconds or less, things people post on social media, they pop in an email, where instead of having to read it, we can watch or listen to it. And I'm sure so many of you find yourself doing that already. If you have ever tried sending a video email or you've received a video email and you loved it, let us know in the chat, because FMG has a great new video email feature that we're going to show you here in a second. And I'd love to hear if anybody's already doing that. Another just quick takeaway that astounded me, more people now listen to podcasts on YouTube, according to some recent research, than even on Spotify. So video type of content is really going to be, one of the best, bangs for your buck in terms of what kind of content, if you're going to create it yourself, that you can create. So where to use video, how to use it on your website. I love seeing websites, and I think consumers love seeing websites that have an intro video on the homepage that basically gives a quick overview of who you are, what you do, who you do it for, and someone can just watch it. They can hear your voice, see your face, get to know you, right? Another great one are video blogs. So this is more just taking a question that people would have and turning it into a video, again, that you can share all kinds of places, but you can also put it on the blog section of your website.
Hey, Sam, what is the editing tool that you recommend? Is it Veed?
Yes,
Veed?
Veed.
All right, I got it right.
Veed.io is a fantastic tool. I don't have a slide with it in here, but you can sign up for a free account, and their subtitling tool is my most favorite because you upload the video and it just pulls all the subtitles in, and then any word where they're like unsure if that was what you said, it turns red, and you can just click on the red word and edit it directly.
Yes, and it even I can use it to edit, which means it's really easy to use.
You're selling yourself short.
No.
And then a newer one that, it's been around for a few years, but I don't see that many people utilizing it, is video email. So remember, we just talked about email being the number one thing in terms of type of communication that clients want. If you can embed a video in your email or share a video via email, it can really add just such a personal touch. And especially too, like with prospects, let's say you've had a couple conversations with someone, or someone's referred to your business, sending a video email is such a warm touch. I know, Susan, you have some thoughts on this too.
1000%. This is something I've tested in some of my previous roles, and there is no question. I don't know if we have anybody on the webinar that's worked with me on this, but sending a video after you've met with a prospect that, just says, hey, I just wanted to thank you so much for coming in. It was great to see you, blah, blah, blah. Or recruit, if you're recruiting, or if you have a message that you wanted to share with all of your clients, mixing the sort of the mediums that you're using in your email, whether you use GIFs or your video or infographics, really makes a difference. But this is, it's a little bit easier for advisors, I find, to do this because you can send it just to one person. So you don't have that embarrassment factor. I'm sending it to 500 people. What if, you're just being real and sending, a quick message that, doesn't have to be perfect to somebody you just met with. And you will see dramatic differences in open rate, response rate. I mean, I pretty much make a little prediction that you'd probably get 100% open rates and responses.
And if you put in the subject line of the email, like in, little parentheses or something, video for you, or if you're just sending it to one person, video for Susan, open to watch or whatever, you'll get even a higher open rate on the email because somebody's like, oh, what's this video that they sent, that they made for you? So I just wanted to show this. This is something that we're really, really excited about. With FMG, you can now easily send these videos as emails through a new widget that we have in the dashboard. So you can easily just upload your featured video into your email, and it will allow you to even choose the thumbnail that that you want to use. And then once you've got it in there, you can send it out. And it can be a one-to-one or one-to-many kind of a situation. But it makes it so nice and easy. I know there was other tools. I'd heard some advisors using this, again, is going to stay through that compliance workflow, make sure everything is compliant. I know everybody's always got questions about that. And so we are super excited about this new feature.
Yes. And it works it also works on your website as well, where it used to be difficult to, you had to actually use a little bit of code, but now it's just copy and paste that URL. It'll show you exactly what it's going to look like. Again, you pick your thumbnail and then it's live. But this is brand new, like in the last couple of weeks at FMG, and something we're really excited about, just to make it easier for you to put video in email. And then I think you were going to talk about if advisors are
Yes. Oh, yes. So the reason that you see FICOM plus FMG on these slides is that FICOM is a great partner of ours, and they are partnering with us to create a special workshop for any advisor who really wants to get started with video, but finds it overwhelming and really could use someone to hold their hand. And so I think it starts on the 12th, I believe. And I believe there's just a few spots left. So I know that the 12th is around the corner, but Blair just put the link in here. FICOM-partners. You can see it's a 1-day do-it-yourself video workshop. And if you're really serious about committing to video in 2023, I cannot recommend this enough. These ladies are rock stars in getting people up off the ground, and not only, by the end of that day feeling confident, but for the rest of the year, knowing what their plan is going to be for how to get video made and done. And if you want to stick around, I saw some other questions about the tool. We'll keep going, but we can open up and do open laptop in the FMG dashboard and show you these new features that we're talking about. So anybody who's an FMG customer or is interested in learning more, stay till the end and we'll show you where some of these things are in your dashboard. Okay.
Especially the event one, because I forgot to mention that we have the built-in promotion thing.
Oh, right. So, well, yeah, and we're going to have time now because we started going faster. So, okay, our sixth prediction is that those folks that are using stories and showing personality in their marketing are going to humanize their brand and have the best outcomes. They're going to build better connections and really start to see a lift in their marketing. I just have two examples here. One's a social media post, one's on a website, but really what you want to start thinking about is, for the longest time, I think we all had this expectation that what we portrayed online needed to only be about the specifics of what we do. And we need to be really serious about it and, to show that we're professional. And what I love about these examples is it shows that telling a story or being your real self can go such a long way in helping people to get a sense of what it would be like to work with you. Because at the end of the day, we all know we're selling that relationship. So Susan, I don't think you've seen this one on the right. It's brand new from Andy Pinko, but I think it is such a good example here. He has a free tax return prep checklist. And just look at the language, right? So he's like, I made this, feel free to download it, share it, do nothing with it, print it and wrap your meatball parm sandwich in it, whatevs, right? So it's just showing his personality, but yet the resource itself, talk about zero-click content, is a great resource that people would want. They would want to share it. They'd want to see it. But instead of being like, I'm so great, look at this great thing I have, or, are you stressed about taxes? He does something, and even that little meatball parm, sandwich comment, that's the kind of stuff in the comments people are going to say, oh my gosh, I could go for a meatball sandwich right now. Or, oh, I never would eat one of those. It's too messy, whatever. Those are the things that people will respond to and engage with.
It totally is. It's that don't be afraid to be real. I know my daughter's, all on Be Real. So every time I say that, I feel like I'm talking about that.
Oh, site. Be Real, the app. Yeah.
But it's true. I mean, we're humans first, and, those little kind of kitschy, exposing yourself and your humor, that's what everybody's going to remember. In fact, if they just scan this in half a second, they're just going to see the word meatball.
That's right. And then on the left here, I love on a website for Drucker Wealth, this gentleman, he and his son actually now run the business, but he talks about how he got into it because of his dad and kind of the family lineage. And he has personal photos of him and his dad growing up.
Oh, I love that.
A video talking about it. And it just really sets the tone. And it's weaving these personal stories. So there's lots of ways you can do that, whether it's being real on social media, whether, there's somebody I know who every email they send to clients, they always have at the bottom a song from the 80s that takes them back to being in high school. And they talk like their song of the week, and people love that. There's another person I know who loves to DIY. And so this advisor, he always has a section of his emails where he talks about his latest disasters in DIY, and he shows pictures of like what went wrong. But these human elements are the number one thing we see missing from a lot of people's marketing. So think about ways you can incorporate this in the new year.
I'll give props. I really love that nav. Just about us, who we serve, what we do, resources, start here.
Yes. If you, in your navigation, you really want to have no more than 7 main pages, 5 to 7 sweet spot. Okay. And the last one, Susan, I know, why don't you do this one? Because you're the most excited about it.
Oh, I am really excited about it. Maybe that's, all right. I'm going to ask everybody in the chat just to weigh in. Who has heard of OpenAI, ChatGPT? It seems like it is all over the news. Yep, there we go. Chat GPT rocks. Oh yeah. Right. Oh,
We could
got
not have a predictions webinar without mentioning.
Yeah, we couldn't talk about 2023 predictions without mentioning OpenAI. And I don't think we have any slides, right? We're just talking to this.
Just one.
Oh, we do. Actually, so FMG, I would say, is, I believe, ahead of the game. And
Oh,
we
wait,
are.
Susan, some people don't know what it is, so we should tell them
Right.
real quick.
Oh, right. Okay. So let me try to say this succinctly. It's artificial intelligence that has been trained to write like a human, and
Conversationally, it can
conversationally, it is based on, just digesting massive amounts of data all over the internet, really up through 2020 for the most part. It has not really digested information from 2020 and beyond. But you can ask it any question. This is an example. Samantha wrote, "Write me, I'm a financial advisor, a social media post that explains the Secure Act," and it within seconds writes it. So it's disruptive, game-changing, and you can sign up and try it. It's been so busy that it's giving you a message that you can get in. But like any new technology, I'm going to read this because I thought it was cool. My husband prints out articles for me to read, but there's one that says, technology.
I love that he prints them, by the way. We're talking about like OpenAI chatbots. And he still prints it.
I have too much stuff in my email. Technology begins by making old work easier, but then it requires the new work to be better and different. And that's exactly what this does. And I wish we're about a week or two, I think, away from making a big announcement. I hope everybody will stay tuned, and we'll make sure that we emailed out to everybody on this. But we are so well positioned to capitalize on this capability and integrate it into our platform. And we're been months in the working on how to do this. And I think all of you will be really excited. But bottom line, it's amazing, but it is not nirvana, and it is not the solution in and of itself. It works really well with a platform like FMG, but I'll let Sam talk about this example.
Yeah. So someone just said, Corey Miller just said, one of our advisors is extremely blunt. He uses Chat GPT to insert his email content and then writes the prompt, "Make my email sound warmer and softer."
Yeah.
He has drastically seen positive response from clients, internal staff, and prospects. So Susan and I could not agree with that more. I think for so many of you, you might say, "Oh, I want to talk about X, Y, or Z," and you like have your bullet points, but you need to turn it into paragraphs. Or maybe you have a big, long paragraph and you need to be more succinct. This chatbot is amazing at taking what you have and pulling out the most salient points, or making them digestible, or just making it sound better or more succinct. Or you could tell it to be playful, or you could tell it to write it at a 6th grade level so everyone would understand it. You can really give it prompts to take your message and just make it better.
And I'm just seeing some questions. So we have been testing it for months and months and months, and it does not flag any plagiarism tool that we've used. And maybe I'll just tease out some of the, can you imagine a world in which, so I'm not going to give away any announcement, but a world in which any piece of content could be personalized based on a series of preferences that you input. So it could be your style from conversational to professional. It could be use of emojis. It could be use of bullets and headlines. It could be length. It could be age and demographics. I'm in the South, or I'm in the West, or I'm, in Canada. Any of the, there's a long list of things that you could imagine, and that could be applied to any piece of content in FMG's platform. And that's sort of, imagine a world in which, and there are lots of ways that in the short term, we'll be able to integrate ChatGPT to just make our content much more personalized. And the thing is, it's still difficult for most advisors to want to sit down and write something, even within ChatGPT. I've been using it, and it saves me a ton of time, but I have to I usually ask a question. It gives me a response. I have to probably ask 3 more questions to get it closer to what I want. And sometimes in the middle of that, it goes actually wrong. Like I'll ask a follow-up question, and then what it delivers is worse than what I had the first time. There's, some back and forth. Then I put it into Word, then I have to edit it because it's not perfect and it's not always right. And then I have to put it in Grammarly. So it's a lot of steps. But imagine a button that did that for you, which would be pretty cool. Oh, and it also has a compliance layer. So it adds the other pieces. We've been training it to work as along FINRA guidelines so that it already will automatically have scanned for FINRA, which would be amazing for compliance departments. But why don't you talk about what it didn't do right here, which is the fear we have.
So I was just going to say, I mean, with any of these kinds of things, I think one of the things that's super important is that, you know, the technology in this case is only as good as the prompts that you give it, right? So I said, write a social media post. I don't know about any of you. If I was on social media and scrolling through, I would scroll right past this in most cases. It's not, I would never start with like a, hey, everyone. I wanted to take a moment to talk about the Secure Act. That's incredibly boring, right? So having a headline that opens with, you know, specifically who it's going to, you know, are you turning 72 in the next 2 years or whatever? It's like specific to who it's going to target. Those type of things, you need to really keep reprompting it in order to get it to be better, but I still think we're not saying in any way, shape, or form that this replaces, you know, what humans can do in the sense of hooking people and coming up with these taglines. You need to have the inputs in order to get a good output. And there's still so much unknown with this tool because people are asking all kinds of questions. Can someone sue this for plagiarism? As of right now, no. Is there any, you know, issue with, will Google be able to see that everything is AI produced and penalize it? There are a lot of questions, and it's such a new tool that like there's a lot of differing opinions if you even start Googling it online. But I think the biggest takeaway is that you have to use it the right way in order for it to be effective. And so that's what Susan and I are really excited about, what our team is working on, because it is going to be revolutionary across so many industries, not just marketing, but specifically in marketing. We see so much potential.
Yes. And I will say, I've been working with FMG as a customer and now, you know, as one of our executives for 12 years now. I have never been more excited about enhancement and how it can just jump. I mean, it's absolutely perfectly positioned for our platform and enhancing it. So I'm really excited. So stay tuned. This is a prediction that we will continue to sort of expound upon, as well as how it will come to life on our platform.
So I'm proud of us, man. We almost exactly hit the hour mark. These are our big predictions, again, for 2023. And hopefully you're all walking away with some thoughts about where you might want to retool your strategy, or what tactics you might want to add in, or what you should be thinking about on the horizon. And it was worth your time to spend an hour with us. We love getting feedback from you on what was really helpful, what specifically you're going to leave here and implement, because it's a webinar, so we can't hear from you live. So any feedback like that you can give us is always so great. And we just want to put our email up here. If there is anybody who wants to email us any specific questions that they have afterward, yes, you will get the slides and the recording as we mentioned. What else, Susan?
I think that's it. You know, I always like to talk about our Do It For Me program for those of you that would love to have sort of Sam and my expertise, you know, customized to your marketing. It is, we come up with a calendar every month and think about what would be the best content topics. We write a blog, and we write 2 to 3 blogs and emails and social posts. And we have a marketing strategist that works with you. If that's something that interests you, please contact us at marketing@FMG Suite. And most of all, I just hope that some of these predictions are things that, you know, sparked your creativity and passion for marketing and will help make a really big difference for you in 2023, and that you'll join us for our upcoming webinars.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you, Susan. I always love hearing your takes on what is going to be hot in the next year. And you always have such a great pulse on the industry and what people want, and also what they need, what they should be paying attention to. So thank you again. It was great spending an hour with everyone. And I'm still going to say it. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everyone.